Good morning, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting Cave's Mouth. Yesterday, I went in with some increasingly light lemon yellow and reseeded some mountains into the distance and kind of fogged them up a little bit. And today I'm going to start with giving him a similar sort of halo-ish aura, or a whitish aura, similar to hers. And that's probably it for the moment, because I got to let the rest of it dry before I reglaze the whole thing with another lemon liquid blend to start yellowing and intensifying the glow, which is the next step. But for the moment, we're looking at dry time, so I'm going to go ahead and hit his aura.
Gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? What, to the American slave, is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty, an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There's not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument, is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour forth a stream, a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be aroused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
That was James Earl Jones reading the words of Frederick Douglass' speech, "What to the Slave is Your 4th of July?" That was during a performance of Voices of a People's History of the United States, which was co-edited by the late great historian Howard Zinn. James Earl Jones, famous for his booming voice as a child, stuttered so badly that for years he chose almost not to speak at all. James Earl Jones has died at the age of 93. We turn now back to Ralph Nader, longtime consumer advocate, corporate critic, former presidential candidate, founder of the monthly print-only newspaper, The Capitol Hill Citizen. His front page piece in the current edition is headlined "Exposing the Gaza Death Undercount." Ralph, why don't you lay out for us why you don't believe the count is, what are we at this point, something like 41,000 dead, more than 16,000 of them Palestinian children, Ralph?
Amy, this is a horrifyingly undercount, and it has political rationale for it. If the true count was known, it would devastate the mythology that the Biden administration and Congress are furthering, that the Israeli government does not purposely target civilian populations and therefore violate all kinds of U.S. laws conditioning the shipment of weapons to Israel and international laws. So I put together in this article in the Capitol Citizen, people can go to capitalcitizen.com and get it. The various probative evidence that shows that experts who are blocked from getting additional data that the State Department has and is keeping secret, that the evidence shows that it's well over 300,000, and it may double by the end of the year. In an article in The Guardian by the distinguished chair of global public health at the University of Edinburgh, titled "Scientists Are Closing In on the True Horrifying Scale of Death and Disease in Gaza," she estimates over 300,000 before the end of the year, pointing out with the Lancet report that you mentioned, that the Lancet people used a very, quote, used a very conservative estimate, but allowed that the number could easily be much higher. And so why is this happening? Why are all sides, the anti-genocide side, the Israeli, the Hamas, why are they always using these figures? Because for different reasons it serves their political purposes. Hamas doesn't want the true count to be known because it will be assailed by its own people and its international allies. It's unable to protect its own people and provide shelters. Netanyahu, of course, wants it lowballed for obvious reasons, and Biden for the same reason. So what do these scientists see? They see a tiny enclave, the geographical size of Philadelphia, with 2.3 million people, crowded.
Alright, that takes care of his aura. There's not a whole lot else I can do for the moment while everything is still so wet. So I'm going to redo the sun with the leftover white, just to brighten it a
And then
smidge.
starting October 8th, the Israeli military issued the genocidal orders of no food, no water, no medicine, no electricity, no fuel. And they proceeded accordingly. And so what these scientists are seeing are what's called the empirical evidence that people on social media are seeing and others. With over 130,000 bombs and missiles, plus daily tank shelling, ruthless sniper fire, there's been massive destruction of apartment buildings, congested marketplaces, refugee camps, hospitals, over 150 health clinics, masses of families huddled in schools being blown up, ambulance being blown up, bakeries destroyed, schools, universities, mosques, churches, roads, electricity networks, critical water mains, just about everyone and everything. And some people, partisans of Netanyahu, will say, oh, the Israeli government never targets civilians. Historically, they've always targeted civilians. Go back to the early 80s when former Israeli ambassador and foreign minister Abba Eban wrote of Israel under then Prime Minister Menachem Begin that Israel, and I'm quoting him, quote, is wantonly inflicting every possible measure of death and anguish on civilian populations. in a mood reminiscent of regimes which neither Mr. Begin nor I would dare to mention by name, end quote. And just a few years earlier, in the late 70s, Israel's leading military analyst, summing up remarks by the Israeli chief of staff, stated the following, quote, the Israeli army has always struck civilian populations, purposefully and consciously. The army has never distinguished civilian from military targets, but purposely attacked civilian targets, end quote. And why is this important? Because to this day, all of the administration's spokespeople are denying that Israel has targeted civilians, denying that Israel has violated international genocide laws, denying that they have violated 6 federal statutes conditioning shipment of weapons to foreign countries on recognizing human rights excessively. To this administration and to the Congress, all deaths of civilians are accidental. Blowing up schools, sheltering refugees, well, that was a mistake. So that's why it's important, Amy and Juan, to get that estimate as reliably high as possible. We are seeing possibly 1 million deaths before the end of the year. We have starvation, we have infectious diseases. All the doctors that you've had on Democracy Now! Have provided the clinical evidence of what's going on. 5,000 babies born every month into the rubble, contaminated water, horrific air pollution with heavy metals from the bombing, no food. We're led to believe by these 41,000 figures that 98% or more of the Palestinian population is still alive. I mean, what are they made of? Asbestos and steel? And as the doctors have said on your program, when they went back to the rubble and the broken hospitals, they didn't meet anybody in Gaza who wasn't sick or injured. There's an interview in February in Al Jazeera by a Gaza undertaker who's doing this free of charge and crying every day with his assistants on the open graves. He says he's buried 17,000 bodies, including 800 in one day, and that was back in February.
Ralph, I wanted to ask you, in addition to the bombings, the killings of civilians, Israel has also refused to allow foreign press to come into Gaza and has systematically been killing those journalists, those Palestinians within Gaza who are reporting. Talk about this attack on the press that really has not gotten much outrage in the West.
If I want to go ahead and start shadowing the rocks.
How weak can you get as a president of the United States or a member of Congress when you can't even demand that Netanyahu let foreign and Israeli journalists, including U.S. journalists, into Gaza to freely report? He's been blocking this for years. And Israeli military is targeted, as you indicated, Palestinian journalists. They've killed over 165 of them, including,
all right, nope,
in
not yet.
addition to
There's no
members
picture.
of their own
How am I
family,
going to get, if I'm going to do the lights first, the darks first, or the yellow glaze first, or whatever. I'll most likely just wait until this dries, and then reglaze the entire cave's mouth with a bright lemonish yellow again, and edge around them, leave their white glow, but all of this will be covered with a very pale, fine, thin glaze again, and to unify that glow. And then I would like to see some details in the rock, so I will probably start shading and lighting those stones around the cave where she's sitting and further out into the background where he is standing. But for the moment, I think I'm going to wrap this up. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mission, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting cave's mouth. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.
Read the